Hello, guys. I am really nervous because this is my first ever experience, and I see that so many of you are joining. And hopefully, everything goes fine and you can hear me well. Please, someone confirm that in the chat. Plus, honestly, I am brave enough to do it without moderator because I did not find one who was eager to work today. And I do value our conversation together. And to tell you the truth, when I began my vlogging, it was pretty difficult to follow all the commands, to answer all the commands. But then I am so much fond of this conversation that we have that I always read all the commands and always answer by myself. So today we will stay also by ourselves without any moderators. And I think my sense of humor will help me save some situations if Russian trolls appear, because when you have them on the streets of your cities, you cannot be afraid of them in your live chat. And I do see that so many people from different corners of the world joined, and I'm really happy to greet all of you in California, in Italy, in South Africa, and I would be glad to answer your questions. And one of the first questions that I have already noticed is are the things in Ukraine in general today? And today I'm at home. We were advised not to go out to various very overcrowded locations because tomorrow is the 9th of May, and the 9th of May is a very important date in Putin's calendar. For a very long period of time, that was a totally normal day, a victory day, but maybe for the last 20 years or something, they have changed it into something totally wrong. When it is not about peace, when it is not about love, respect, commemoration, but about fighting, about demonstrative violence, aggressiveness, and so on. So maybe, I'm sorry, you see, my eyesight is not perfect, so I'm starting to read some of your questions. And if I have ever been to New Zealand, yeah, I would like to see. I know the country is very beautiful, and I'm a nature lover. And though it seems to me very far away, I have never been to the other continent. I have traveled a lot. I have been to Europe, I have been to Asia, but I have never been to the Americas, Australia, or New Zealand. And that would be very interesting for me. A question, whether I'm okay. Well, in Ukraine, we have this new normal and new okay. And this means that you cannot be happy when things like that are happening. When we read the news about Azovstal, but I have already mentioned for many of you that I live in a semi-safe zone. But on the news, we have read that my region and Lviv region may be targeted during the 9th of May. So we are asked to stay out of various crowded places. And also when we hear air raid alarms, to go and follow the rules. Hopefully we won't have any. Hello from New York and London, UK. Hello to London and New York. And what do you think will happen to Donbas region? I think we will return it back to Ukraine, because people who realized what Russia does, you see that even taking into account this 8 years when Crimea was annexed and Donbas region was taken by Russian military, we don't see that a new Singapore or Paris appeared on that territories. And many people who even were more pro-Russian are definitely anti-Russian today. That's why I do believe we will be able to return it back. I know with Crimea it is more difficult because it's a peninsula, but I believe in Ukrainian armed forces and the experience of our allies from all over the world that they might help us and change the situation for the better. And some questions. Um, News about civilians and soldiers in Mariupol. Are they evacuated yet? We know that the evacuation of the civilians was finished yesterday, and all the elderly people, women, and children were taken out of Azovstal, but definitely it took really long. And Azovstal is a really big territory, and it is almost like a normal town. It is not just a factory, it is not an urban zone, it is a really big zone. But we are very much worried for the soldiers who stay there, because I am very much afraid that uh, they can become victims of this situation. And I don't think they can give up, because if they give up, they will also be killed by Russian soldiers. That's why this is a very tragic situation. And to tell you the truth, we have these updates, we have videos from these soldiers, and it makes it more like, I think, um, realistic, because when you read history books, when you read something about the Second World War, and today is the Memory Day, it is one thing. But when you see these people and they participate in press conferences being hidden somewhere in the cellars of Azovstal, it looks really hard. And I do feel like more things could have been done to save them. And now that we have more support from our foreign allies, maybe a sky could have been closed above Mariupol, so that Ukrainian soldiers could have more access to that territory. Have I ever been to India? No, but I would like to. And uh, when I was at school, I loved Indian films. And I would wake up early on Saturdays when they demonstrated the films, and I would watch them. And I have always, since then, I've dreamt to visit India. And have you ever been to Finland? Oh, no, I have not been to Finland yet, but I would like to. And to tell you the truth, today, many Ukrainian people remember the Finland war, and your country is an example to us. And by the way, the memoirs of Mannerheim are very popular in Ukraine too, and his army stood very close to the location where I live. So we even had jokes that maybe there are some descendants of Mannerheim next to us, next to our region. Is my family safe? Well, my family is semi-safe, as many people in Ukraine, but I have my relatives who came to live with us from Kyiv, because Kyiv became a dangerous place, and it is still a dangerous place. And my cousin had his son born. They planned everything will be normal in Kyiv, but it all happened here in my Lutsk, and definitely lots of people have their plans totally changed. But at the same time, um, it's good that they are safe and sound. So that is the most important things. Do I have Twitter and Instagram? I don't have Twitter. I had Instagram and I put it on a pause, but let me know if you think I should revive that Instagram, because I felt like I'm spoiling much time on Instagram, and YouTube gives me more opportunities to express what I think. So that's why I changed for YouTube. But anyway, um, and yeah, the Finns are brave, definitely. Um, and What percentage of Russians do you see are against war? I think this is a really low percentage of Russians that are against war. If I ask myself why, I think that, of course, I do want to believe that they are not just like orcs, as we say, but that they are brainwashed. But then I see that many countries, for example, lots of our presidents at the beginning of our independence, they were not really independent. Many of them were pro-Russian, but we were trying change that situation. And having all these technologies, having websites, having news, having YouTube, you can get the information. And one another thing, for example, when it all started and before the start of this war, there was so much information about um, it is going to happen, and I did not believe that, because like you don't think that full scale war is possible in the center of Europe in the 21st century with no particular reason. And then I started to have doubts when I realized that actually the whole world is talking about that. People everywhere, newspapers, political, I don't know, European, American newspapers, Asian newspapers, and you start to have doubts. Like, it cannot be that all of these people are talking about this just because of nothing. And that's why I think that even those Russians who pretend to be totally neutral, they have to realize, come on, the whole world is helping Ukraine. People are talking about this awful things happening. Maybe I should Google more. Maybe I should learn more. And I don't think that their choice to live in fear and to obey will bring them something positive. That's why I think that a really big percentage of Russians is influenced and support this war. Another question, what shall we do with these Russians? Because I believe Putin regime will fall sooner or later. And with the start of this war, this regime will fall sooner. But what shall we do with all of these people? How can we educate them? How can we show them the poison of that propaganda? And I think that's a very difficult question. I'm not like specialized to answer it, but this is going to be a difficult work. And even in my comments, thank you for teaching me how to pronounce that word, but even in my comments I see that uh, not many neutral or positive Russians show up, and the majority of them try to like show that no, we're not guilty. Like, they don't try to dig deeper and understand what is going on. Yeah, we do celebrate Mother's Day, and I have congratulated my mother. So we celebrate Mother's Day, and we also switched to, for a very long period of time, we have started celebrating the 8th of, not commemorating the 8th of May as the day of memory, remembrance of the Second World War. And this is a very important thing for post-Soviet countries, you know. Only recently we have memorials. We do not ruin the monuments and graves of Soviet soldiers, because among those Soviet soldiers there were many Belarus, Ukrainian, and adequate Russian soldiers. But what changed in many Ukrainian memorials, we have changed the dates, because all over Ukraine, all over Russia, Belarus, you will see 1941. And we all know that for the whole world, the war started in 1939, and Pact of Molotov and Ribbentrop demonstrate that Russia, Soviet Union had totally different plans, and they joined this war only after something went wrong for Stalin. So I think it's very important that we have changed this date, and that we start marking this first day of peace together with the rest of the world, and not with the Russians who uh, see victory as a start of a new war, but not just a period of peace. Do I hear airstrikes where I live? Yes, from time to time. And I have started like not a fan of flying. I fly, but I drink when I fly because I need to relax. So I'm the one of those drunk persons on a plane, but I don't get often to fly and often to drink on a plane. But now I'm even afraid of the sound of an airplane. We don't have many airplanes flying, but when you hear, you just like, wait, is it ours or is it the wrong one? And it all began, I do remember the moment when this war began for me. and it was early in the morning, like you sleep typically at that time. It was something like 4 or 5 a.m. And do think that people are very vulnerable at that time. Like all the bad ideas come to you at that period. And like I'm a contact lens wearer, so I need them to feel safe. So we got a phone call, and our brother told us, uh, it has started. And you think, what has started? You don't believe it's war. And then like 20 minutes later, when you still run up and down, you look for Facebook, you read the news, and everywhere on the news you have the information that soon electricity, internet will disappear. So you start reading this information with more interest. Like, not interest, it's not healthy. And then I heard these blow ups, and they were not far away, and we were totally shocked, because we believe if something is possible, it will be close to the annexed regions, but not like close. Like I am 80 kilometers from the Polish border. And then we realized it's a full-scale war, and we read that lots of, almost all regions and central cities of the regions were hit by Russians. And these very first days, they were really awful. And another memory that I have was also at night. I woke up, I don't know why. Typically I'm a very sane sleeper, like you can steal everything in my house while I'm sleeping. And I woke up and I heard a very ugly noise, something different from a plane and something different from a car. And then I realized it was a missile. And I heard how it hit far away, like a couple of, like maybe 20 or 30 seconds later. And then we'll have learned that they shot our airport, and we had 6 victims. And for me, as I have this like philosophical mind, it was pretty difficult, because I felt like I've heard somebody's death flying. And that was, since now, like when I see these pictures of missiles in the skies, I have this feeling it is something totally abnormal. Such things should not be in the sky. When you look at it, when you see that, it goes without saying that I have always been against war. But the more I see of this war, the more I realize how ugly and how stupid all that is. Um, Good. Isn't why Ukraine want to join NATO? Yeah, we want to join. I am personally a pro-NATO person, and in generally, I think that the attitude has changed tremendously. Like at the beginning of this war, we had like maybe 60% of Ukrainians who support NATO, and now we have like 90%. Of course, we had some like problems, because we wanted NATO. NATO did not want ours, but I understand it's all a difficult procedure. So of course there are lots of economical, political reform things. And of course Russia's war with Ukraine is not about NATO, because we did not have NATO base. We wanted to have them, but we did not have them. And you just like, you I will tell you one joke later. If I won't be able to answer all the questions, I will type my answers. But there is one Ukrainian joke about 2 men who return back home through the village, through the forest, and it's really dark, and they are like afraid of each other. And then one man hits another man with a spade on his head and drags him home. And on the very next morning, that man who was actually hit by his friend asks, "Why did you do that? Why did you hit me?" And the first one answers, "I was afraid you were thinking something to do me something bad." So this is how it all looks with Russia and Ukraine. Like no NATO, no danger, but we have decided to attack them to stop the war. And that's what they did with Georgia. That's what they did with Moldova and with many other countries. But in general, this is the idea to recreate Soviet Union. Because for Putin, the loss of the Soviet Union is the greatest geopolitical catastrophe. And also, he realizes that the longer people live without the memories on the Soviet Union, and among young people, we don't have many sentiments, he will lose this opportunity to collect all the Russian lands and like to stay that way. Can I still sleep now? Yeah. It all very interesting how quickly you adapt to war. And when it all started, I had also one very weird feeling, like a mixture of fear with relief. Because when you live in the anticipation of war for such a long period of time, and many people, many countries don't believe you. And I know that many countries in the EU, they also did not believe our fear of Russia. They were thinking we exaggerate, or maybe something wrong with Ukrainians, or maybe the Crimea was not annexed. There were lots of doubts. And take into account Russian propaganda, they had lots of money. They still have lots of money, TV channels everywhere. And it was all like undercover. And then on the 24th of February, it all became very obvious. And finally, the world saw the true face of Russia. So, to some extent, for us, that was like, I cannot say a relief because we have war on the territory of our country, but at the same time, we have realized that finally, well, you trust us, you see what's going on, you see that Putin is not just talking, that he's killing Ukrainians, and that is why it all happens. No, I don't have Russian friends or family. And it is not because I have broken up with them or something, but it happened so historically. I do have some relatives in Poland. I had some relatives in, like, my one of my great grandmothers come from a mixture of Belarusian, Polish, and Lithuanian, because we have all of these mixtures. But no, I have a family in Argentina. uh Carpathian is the coolest. Yeah, I love Carpathian mountains. um I Would I join the Ukrainian military? Perhaps no, but it all depends doing what. I'm not really good at running. I might be good at shooting because typically I win all this stuff when I shoot, but maybe I could join it for some, I don't know, translation services or something more of that, because I am not that physically fit, I think. But um, anyway, during the weeks now, if so, what? Yeah, I'm working, and in our region, we are able to continue working, to continue education. You can buy coffee, and of course, theaters, cinemas, such things, they don't work. But I have a couple of projects. I teach at the university. I have my organization that works with tangible and intangible cultural heritage, and we have a couple of grant projects we are working on. So it's mainly about paperwork and some presentations. And also, I write for the newspaper, and I love writing. And but it's difficult to write these times because so many emotions, so many different feelings, and like, many people say that to be a writer you have to be hungry or you have to suffer. And my favorite writer, Gabriel Garcia Marquez, says no, you have to be calm and happy. So perhaps that's my case. When I'm calm and happy, it is easier for me to write. Greetings to Mexico. um, yeah, I know Operator Starsky, that he's in the military, and I think that he's one of the very trustworthy sources, especially for those of you who are interested in the military things. And definitely, I advise you watching him. What do I write, and where can we see it? Okay, I will leave a link. I write for the Ukrainian newspaper, and it's about culture, it's about cuisine, it's about traveling, and also I write short stories, and I have won a couple of prizes. So maybe one day I will become a writer. I do have some ideas, I do have some things, but now it's more about nonfiction. What other languages can I speak? Well, I speak English, and English is my like strongest language. Un poco español porque tengo mi familia en Argentina y mi padre nació en Argentina, pero he's Ukrainian. And Russian, but I don't like Russian. Ukrainian, and ein bisschen Deutsch. I speak German really bad. Like, I can ask you a question in German and don't understand your answer. And that was my problem when I have been to Germany, when I have been to Austria. I make this question and then somebody answers me, and I said, and Polish, I can understand, and Poles can understand us, and Belarusian, of course, Belarus language, that is not the problem. And then project gains. What am I teaching at the university? Copyright and interpreting, and some EU-related projects there. Um, what is your idea of fun? Like to win this war and to finally drink some wine and to feel that like, and of course I know that this moment of victory, it won't be a real victory because there is so many things that they have destroyed. I try not to think about this totally devastated um, infrastructure of my country and so many lives of people ruined, because we have to be optimistic. And I realize there are lots of things that we don't know about our losses because we have to stay. It's like with a patient. When you want to help him, you don't tell him about all the side effects of the medicine and what can happen. So I do think it's very important to stay in that positive mood. And I am like, I can describe you two types of Ukrainians. Ones that try to, we often feel guilty. Like we have this victim, they call it Stockholm. I don't know what kind of syndrome it's called, but when you feel guilty that you're alive and you have like your tea and I can chat with you and we don't have air alarms. But I think that it's better to try and preserve normal feeling as much as it's possible, like to be strong, to do something useful. Um, are all men in Ukraine forced? No. Yeah, they not all, like I do often get that question like, oh, Zelensky is bad, he does not let all your men go out of Ukraine. Guys, when you have war, there are lots of things that changed in the law of your country. That's why for a very long period of time, even after we had Crimea annexed, we did not declare war to Russia, because after you declare war, there are lots of things that must be changed in the ways the country is run. For example, instead of regional administrations, you have military administration. And the economy, it works not for some repairments or things like that, it works for the military and various taxes. And the same about men and women who are mobilized. And these are not all people. And we have this, but I think it's, if they really need to leave the country, or if they have 3 children, young children, or if they have some people they have to take care of, they are allowed to leave. And of course, there are lots of men on the streets of the cities who work, who back up the military forces economically. And a very great surprise is that so many Ukrainian men who did not want to go to the army, they escaped it, they invented various diseases, now came to war. And there are different levels where they can fight, because, for example, military forces, professional military forces, they are in the hottest spots. And some other like police, territorial defense, they are the second, like, I don't know how to explain that, the second level of protection. Of course, at the very beginning of this war, all people were involved because we did not have time to like prepare. But now it looks more and more organized, if I can say it so. Well, Putin will declare, doesn't change anything, and he is a serious problem for the world, not only for Ukraine. But yeah, he can use this symbolic day. But like we have this joke: if they really want a parade in Moscow, we can do one. Um, then so many. Thank you for your comments. I will definitely read them. Uh, will Ukraine accept lots of volunteers to help? I do hope so, but it's very difficult when I get questions. How will we improve our infrastructure, or how will we improve our democracy, or something like that? Demography. I cannot answer this question because, like, we are still fighting, and I don't know when we will win. So it's very difficult for me to predict. Like, from one point of view, I feel more or less safe, and I want to believe that they won't come, for example, to my region, and they won't destroy Kiev, they won't take it. But I don't have any like guarantees. So that's why until we win, it's very difficult to explain anything. Greetings from Romania, and greetings to Romania after Ukraine wins the war. How do you see the cohabitation with Ukraine neighboring countries? Well, I think in general, we have normal relations with the countries. Of course, like, we have some issues with the government of Hungary, but I believe we don't have issues with the people of Hungary. And no one except Russia is a bad neighbor. And Russia is a bad neighbor not only for Ukraine, but in general. And that's why, for me, it is a very important question: what will happen to Russia? Because for me, our victory, it is not the negotiations. It is not, I cannot imagine the end of this war with Putin at the rule of Russia. And I cannot imagine this war ends until everyone in Russia realizes that was a crime against humanity, that was a crime against world. And then what will happen to Russia is a big question. Many of us Ukrainians see that, and people all over the world who study geography, history, culture of Russia, they realize that it is made of many different peoples. And many of these peoples are suppressed. They are not able to practice their culture, their language. So maybe many new countries can appear. But once again, that is a serious geopolitical process, and many other countries will try to stop that. So it's really difficult to predict what will happen. But for me, definitely Putin is no more a president. He's a war criminal, and he's not the one we can talk to. So tell Macron to stop calling him. That is my question. What is the obsessive compulsive disorder? Why does he call him? What does he talk about? Okay. Are you using Elon Musk Starlink? No, I use like ordinary internet because my infrastructure is okay, but people, military, those in the regions that were destroyed and those that are located in the regions where internet never existed, they definitely use the Starlink. They say it's not super fast, but it works. And that is the most important thing. And if something really wrong goes with our internet and communications, then we will be able to work with Starlink. So this is really important. Yeah, I think Putin is really seriously ill, but not. Maybe it's not about cancer, but it's about his head, and that's why I think we cannot hope for his death, because his death is not the solution. Of course, I do wish him death, because after killing so many people, I think it's not even a sin. But I like, there are others next to him who can substitute him in his crimes, and it will be very difficult to change this regime. And they exist there for a very long period of time, and like, it all very important, like with the Nazi regime, it all finished in 1945, and people all over the world realized it was evil. And you won't see the portraits of Hitler on the streets of Berlin or on the streets of Kyiv, but you can see portraits of Stalin everywhere in Russia. And for decades, they believe that Soviets are okay and that it's good. And after the war, do you think schools in Ukraine will quit teaching? Many schools in Ukraine quit teaching Russian language, and like, they at the beginning of our independence, there were lots of Russian schools where Russian was the main language of education, and it was like that in Belarus, in Moldova, when Russian was the leading language. And to build a career, to study at the university, you had to change like your native language into Russian. But today it is studied as a foreign language, and I don't know, maybe people will still learn it as a foreign language, but it does not have to be like the central language, the only language needed for a career or something. Let it be English then. Um, yes. Have you been surprised by the support? Yeah, I've been surprised by the support the world has shown to Ukraine. I was very much surprised by our president. I have already told you that I did not vote for him because, like, he was not a politician for me. He was more a funny guy. Plus, I knew he was not into politics. He was more into showbiz. And we were very much afraid that if war happens, it will be very easy for Putin to influence him, to convince him. And now I realize that it's very important that he stayed. It's very important that he started fighting. And now all of us, well, like all of us wanted this too, but it's very important when the government and people are together. And this unity, yeah, we do have it. It's natural. And of course, the support of the world is very important because with our bravery and our desire, we wouldn't be able to fight because you do need weapons. You do need. I also believe in sanctions, but they work really slowly. And another thing is that for many normal countries, if something goes wrong with your electricity, with your finance, you kind of go on strikes, and we do that. And Russians, they are very patient. There are lots of people who don't have like normal conditions in their houses, and they don't notice lots of things that would be very visible for other countries. So sanctions are really long, but they are important. But weapons are more important, and land lease. And we're very grateful to all the world. And I know that there are countries like when you don't see the support of the government very vividly, but at the same time people are with us, and that's also very important. We know how to separate like governments and people. And uh, Poland, Baltic countries, they have all been with us, and they know what is Russia, they know what is USSR. UK, we are very grateful for your voice because, like, when many people were still in doubt, you started saying that Ukraine must stand against Russia, we must support the United States and Lend Lease and all the other countries. There are like smaller countries, but bigger efforts, countries that have changed their attitude. And we do understand that uh, the world helps us. But we have to say that we also understand that if we fail, Putin will continue, and the dangers to the world will also be great. So it is also about the protection of the world in general, because he is insane in his desires, and he definitely sees other countries that he wants to return back to the Russian orbit. What do I think will happen tomorrow on the 9th? Something will definitely happen. I think they will give us lots of missiles. That's something very similar they did for Easter, because they like celebrating holidays that way. I don't know if Putin will declare a war, maybe, but for us it does not change anything. It can change only for Russians. So he will mobilize the population. This does not fear us because like these are not professional fighters, and for Ukrainian men and women, mobilization means the protection of your own land, and all of us are motivated. And Russians, I believe that some engineers or doctors are not very motivated to go into a faraway country to fight, and seeing that we are actually strong in all that. um, how many people who are in the neighboring countries will return? Um, I think many. I think that like 2/3. Of course, 1/3 perhaps may stay, and but 2/3 will return. And many depends also on the situation in Ukraine after we win. If the world will continue helping us, for example, if we do have real chances to join the EU, many people will come back because of the both the opportunities that will be open, and also because of their desire to do something, to change something in the country. And that is why I think many of them will return. At least those who are my friends, they plan to return. I communicate with them, and to tell you the truth, many have already returned after they have realized that some zones are more or less are less dangerous. So many of them have already returned. But of course, there are lots of people who will change their life. I don't know, see new opportunities or whatever. Uh, with Ukraine forcing Russia out of the Kharkiv region, do you think they'll push Russia to get Russian territory? No, I don't think we will go on the Russian territory. I don't think we have enough strength. Maybe they deserve that. And like there are lots of territories we can start saying they were Ukrainian, but Ukrainians are different. We do understand that there is international law. And many years ago, we have agreed on the borders. And we have to live respecting these borders. Because if we start revising these borders, the map will look totally different. And that's why. Yeah, thank you for the Mother's Day, but no, I'm not a mother yet. Uh, thank you, and thank you. Will Ukrainian forces spoil any Russian victory parade in Mariupol tomorrow? I think it's a totally ugly idea to organize a parade in Mariupol because the city is destroyed, and it looks really awful. And what terrifies me the most is that Russian troops, they took mobile crematoriums with them to destroy the bodies of people, both of their soldiers and of Ukrainian civilians. And this is something that my brain still cannot accept. This looks really awful. And knowing how they cleaned all of the streets, how the city looks, and like you can Google and you can see, we have it very often on our Facebook and elsewhere. Mariupol during this New Year celebration, a beautiful city with lots of lights, and now, just like 3 months later, with orcs on our territory when Russians came to liberate Ukraine. And for me, it's like having a parade there. You start to believe the devil exists and it's in Putin's head. So for me, it's total nonsense. I do hope, I'm the one of those who hope they will blow up the bridge, the Kerchensky bridge. I don't know if we really need that, but that would be nice. So definitely I'm for that. I think we should do something to greet them and to show that. Yeah, I would like to the Crimean bridge to be destroyed. That's what I have already said. Um, if Ukraine is able to retake control of Crimea and Donbas by battle or a future treaty, do you think that Ukraine will expel No, we won't expel ethnic Russians. And there are no ethnic cleanings in Ukraine. Maybe such problems exist in Russia. As we see, they have problems with other nationalities who don't think they are Russians. For Russians, you're a Nazi if you say that you're not Russian. In Ukraine, it's not like that. And there are lots of Russians who actually fight against Russia now. In Ukraine. And I cannot tell you that the ethnic Russian population of Ukraine is really that big. We have other peoples, and all of them lived peacefully until Putin started supporting some separatist movements. So definitely we won't expel or anything like that. We don't practice any totalitarian things. Yeah, I do have friends fighting in Ukrainian army, and like they say, it's very important what they are doing, and this is our historical war. We have this like for centuries with Russia, and this time we have to finally stop that and win. Uh, yeah, Zelensky has normal contact with Ukrainian press. To tell you the truth, he loves it. And before the war, he loved it, and I don't think any real problems with that. Where I'm from, I am from. Oh, that's a joke, I guess. Well, I'm from Ukraine, and stand strongly with Ukraine. When do you think shipments of wheat will start? Oh, I don't know. I'm not into that, but I know that Ukraine thinks a lot about these possibilities because we realize that much of the products in the world, in different corners of the world, depend on our ability to send and that's why lots of people work for that. And I'm totally like, I love these people. When I see the pictures of Ukrainian farmers wearing bulletproof vests because they need to sow their fields, and these fields were mined by Russian orcs. And some people have already stepped on mines and died, not many. But you see how heroic it becomes just to harvest, just to sow the field. But people want that. Ukrainians are very much into agriculture, and people start doing that. And in my region, people plant lots of potatoes, for example, because we are a potato region, because they believe they will need to feed more regions of Ukraine. And I think it also describes us really well. Um, do I think Hungary will try to block Ukraine joining the EU? I don't know, maybe. It's possible. I wouldn't like it to be. I have been to Hungary many times. I like the country a lot. And at the same time, I realize that Orban has some problems, and it's very bad if they get under Russian influence, because Russia has never brought anything positive to us. They don't have partnerships with countries. They always use the countries. Um, yeah, Zelenska, the first lady, met with the Biden, uh, Biden's wife, which is who is also Biden, and they hugged, and they stayed hugging for a really long period of time, and I like it a lot. Is food distribution another? Yeah, in the Western Ukraine and in the majority of regions of Ukraine, food distribution works more or less normally. At the beginning, it was problematic when the districts were occupied by Russians and they were controlling the roads, and then it was difficult to bring. And they are totally run and disrespectful to various humanitarian corridors and things like that. But in general, people are good at collecting foods, and now lots of volunteers travel even to those regions that are occupied to bring that important food and so on. So in general, we don't have shortages of food, and you can buy literally anything in my region. And of course, there are some limitations in those regions that recover Russian occupation. And in places like Mariupol, of course, the situation is tragic. And oh, thank you. If you enjoy my channel, thank you very much. And it's very important for me because, like, I was not into vlogging, and I felt like I wanted to express my feelings, and it helped me a lot because there are so many things I want to tell you. And to tell you the truth, honestly, I'm not doing it as a vlogger. I'm just like, there is one more thing that I want to tell you, another thing that I want to tell you. And I very much value your comments, your advice, and I cannot skip anything. Sometimes, like, I don't go to bed until I finish reading it all. No Russian relatives. And a Polish, Ukrainian, American. I am. Yeah, Poland is really helpful, and we are very grateful to Polish people. Lots of Ukrainian refugees there, and in general, they understand, like so many nations that understand what it is like to be with Russia, to be under Russia, to be in the Soviet Union, which was actually the prison for the peoples. They very much understand what we are fighting with. Because some countries, I don't blame that, but if you have never come close to communism, you cannot imagine all the fears. You cannot imagine that filtering camps or mobile crematoriums are possible, and they are. It's like, in my mind, this cannot exist. I like all the evil I can imagine, I cannot imagine that, and it's a part of the reality. So for me, it's like, goes without saying. Do I believe the new generation of Russian people could change Russia's attitude towards my country and countries in general? Good Russians. I won't tell you the joke about good Russians, that's a bad joke, not from a good Ukrainian. But I do think there are normal or good Russians. Among their actors and writers and singers. But I don't know why so few. This country is really big, 350 million or something. and not many voices. They could have changed everything. That's a huge country, and they don't do it. And I'm afraid that those young Russians, they will be more centered not on justice, democracy, but freedom to travel, to buy what they want. I want to be wrong, but I don't see these tendencies. As you might have understood from my vlogs, I more believe in young Belarus people because they were trying to do something at least. And in Russia, I don't know, it's very difficult for me, but I sometimes see they have a built-in mechanism that attracts suffering, and they like sharing suffering, and they don't want you to be happy. Um, and that's kind of difficult. Do I have a gun to protect yourself? I won't tell you. Because um, the whole world wants to win, your country to win. No, not the whole, but the majority of the normal. Um, no, I'm not prepared for the worst outcome because I don't see it's possible. Like, it's our war for existence. If we fail, like all the other things, they don't have any reason. So we don't see it that way. Like, we believe we will win. The question is with how many victims and how many more sacrifices we must have. But I don't think the world can accept Putin, because if we win us, he will continue with Poland, with Baltic, with other countries, with Moldova. He's talking about that right now. So I don't think he can win. There is no way. The question is just how many more victims we must have to continue to win, actually, to stop him. And that's the question. And do you have friends in Russia who don't? I don't have friends in Russia. But once again, it was not my plan. It just like I'm very far away from Russia, both mentally and geographically. Um, don't smile openly. Some people say that Ukrainians don't smile too much, but and now we have this reason. I have like heard one linguistic joke that when you speak with a Slavic person and you close their mouth, you don't see the face moving, and when it's another nationality, you can see. But we don't smile enough, and it's a problem of many post-Soviet countries. Wearing black in winter, but it all changes with younger generation. Sip something. Mhm. Okay, I have sipped. What do you want me to say in my language? Привіт, мене звати Анна. Я українка, і я вирішила вести цей блог для того, щоб розповідати вам більше про мою країну у такий складний для неї час у війну. I don't know if many of you have understood what I've said, but it was mainly about my vlog and the reasons why I have launched it. Do you think there is a way Ukraine can win without Putin? No. I think the Putin must not only be removed, but he must be prosecuted or executed, and we cannot live in peace until he's alive. And definitely, if we negotiate and we have this peace treaty or something, he will come back in a year, in 2 years, because this is his fight. And not only Putin, but his regime must fall. And I think that just like as Nazi soldiers were shown their crimes, Russian soldiers and Russian people must be shown. They must see what they've done to my country and to the world in general. So I do think it's very important. Are you living on my own? Now, no, because I have my relatives from Kiev who came and live with us, but I like it at this moment because you feel more relaxed that way, like when all the important people are next to you and you don't have to call them. We have this joke, like very often when you have this list of people on Facebook whom you ask, how are you? And Ukraine, it has a totally different meaning. This means these are people you really care about. So, because it's not about just how are you, just like checking how you're alive. Running for office, no. Maybe after we win or something like that. But I'm more into culture and things like that. I believe that culture is a very strong politics, so maybe that will be useful. How would Russians know what they did? Like, well, how did Nazis learn what they did to the world? Like by traveling, by showing them, by stopping censorship and propaganda on their television, by bringing new media. That is all very easy. They can travel to Bucha and Irpin and see everything. Just like, first of all, turn off the filters. And Ukrainians and Transcarpathian Hungarians, I don't see any conflicts. No real conflicts on the territory of Ukraine, just with Russians who came to my territory. In Hungary, no. I see that many people are very much in norm. I would say just the country. Do I have cats? No. No, I don't have cats, but I like cats. I'm afraid of big dogs. Of small dogs, no. No, do I have kids? No, I don't have kids. And no cat, so it looks like I'm a selfish person. uh, what are my plans? I like this question. After Ukraine has driven Russia out, with parting for a month, travel the world, or maybe something, travel the world, travel the world, and like feeling happy. Because even when something positive happens in your life during this period, you're not feeling happy because you know this background. And of course, there are happier days, there are darker days, but in general, it is all very difficult. It's a tea, it's a tea, and I have a black cat and a white cat. You know, like if I'm in a good mood, perhaps I should take a white cat. And it's a tea. It's a mint tea. I'm more of a tea person, but sometimes I do like coffee and I need coffee. And okay. Something about Argentina. So greetings to Argentina. I do have relatives there. And mhm. My yeah, I well like would kill for that cup. Somebody's girlfriend would keep. Oh, like I can check if they're still available, but you know, shipping from Ukraine might be problematic. Might be problematic today, and I I see that tea is a very important question. I drink different kinds of tea. I actually drink a lot, like not alcohol, but of like water. I like drinking, and I like cola and all of that stuff. So, uh, you should become a comedian like Zelensky. Oh, that was a problem. Like, I have a very good sense of humor. My father had a very good sense of humor. But then I realized girls should joke less. Maybe that's a gender stereotype, but very often when I have this ironic jokes about other people, I keep my mouth shut to to preserve our friendship, and that's a problem for me from time to time. So what will be my dream job after we win the war? I would like to continue writing because my dream job is to be a writer. And I have some success in that area. My texts have been to a couple of the books already. So I'm not that crazy person who wants to become a writer. I believe I have some things to continue in that area. So that's my dream. And also some cultural projects that I like a lot. And maybe I will continue vlogging because you bring me so much motivation and some ideas, maybe not that often, but there are things I would like to say about my country. And I'm actually surprised that not that many English speaking vloggers about Ukraine, because we have some high quality content, but it's Ukrainian language. So, well, I don't know Operator Starsky, so I cannot make him personally. I cannot make questions and answers with him. And oh, thank you. If you think that I will become a successful YouTuber. If you have seen me this morning when I started learning how to start this stream, you would have doubts because I was so nervous and I realized maybe I did not press something and they won't let me come out, and you will think that I'm not a good friend to watch. So uh, anyway, So, and maybe just a couple of questions and we will finish our live session. But please let me know if you would like this practice to continue. Then maybe on some Sundays or other days we can decide and meet, and I will be glad to answer your questions. And I'm really glad that some of you have been to Vinnytsia, Lviv, Kyiv, Ternopil, and the next place is Lutsk, perhaps to visit. Do I see myself as a health conscious fashionista? I guess no. Like, it's very difficult to be health conscious right now. And thank you very much for those who wish us Ukrainians peace and normal life. And will Russians ever change? In my opinion, you know, Otto von Bismarck, it seems to me, spoke about the problems with Russians. Then Churchill spoke about the problems with Russians. Napoleon was totally frustrated as how disrespectful they are to their own soldiers. There are many things in Russia that continue from century to century. Like, they choose tsars, they choose dictators. So for me, it is a really serious problem. I cannot understand it. What's going on in Ukraine? There are other problems that we have. We do have lots of problems, but they are more normal. They do not result in millions of deaths. So for me, it's really difficult to see what can happen to Russia. I know they are our problem for 300 years. I cannot predict what will happen in the next 300 years, but definitely it will take decades. It cannot happen tomorrow. And okay. If you come to Lutsk, would I accept to be your guide? Yeah, I think that would be an honor. That would be interesting. And anyway, I love my country a lot, and I think there are lots of interesting places you can discover. It's a pity that many people in the world have learned about Ukraine, have learned that Ukraine is not a part of Russia because of this war. But at the same time, there are lots of interesting things we can show to the world, and I do hope that after we win, we will have these possibilities and we won't lose these opportunities. And that is why I'm always glad to answer your questions. I'm always glad when you motivate me to film my vlogs about something. Please forgive my mistakes, or maybe the fact that I don't use interesting backgrounds, just choose different locations in my house. But I'm really grateful for the conversations we have. Let me know in the comments if you like this, in the comments, if you like this practice, so that we can continue and go out on live chats from time to time. Also, I promise that I will answer those questions that I did not manage to read while we were talking. And once again, thank you for being this community. I do feel that it's not just like social media, it's a conversation for me. So thank you very much. And Slava Ukraini!